Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today for our Liverpool review is Drew. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, doing well, mate.
Yeah, and Mozza, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all okay, thank you. Hope you're both well.
Yeah, I hope you're feeling better, buddy. It's good to have you back. Obviously, we are here to talk about Liverpool on Saturday. Painful watch, and a lesson learned for me because I was actually being quite positive and thought we'd go in and maybe put some sort of performance together, but in truth, it was shocking. That we'll start as we always do. I usually speak to AJ about the team lineups and the selections and stuff like that. I'm not too surprised. I don't think any of us were too surprised that Fulham remained unchanged, even though we've had a 3-week break from the game going into it, Anfield. But what was a surprise was just how poor we looked. Drew, that first half performance, especially the first 15 minutes, was very, very lackluster. It was very, very poor. And it looked like we'd spent 3 weeks on a beach rather than 3 weeks potentially training with each other to look like we were even remotely a squad.
Another international break, another Fulham flat start. We've seen this before. I talked about in the preview show that, if we held out and we frustrated Liverpool, the crowd would start to get on their backs, tensions would rise, but we did none of it. We didn't take advantage of a Liverpool team and a Liverpool club lacking confidence and not too far away from having a full-blown crisis. I don't know. I don't know what to say really. You can trot out the old cliches as start as you mean to go on, but it was just we just didn't look like we had mentally prepared for it at all, let alone physically. I really don't know what to say. I cannot explain after a break like we've had. It's not like we didn't know we were playing Liverpool. It's not like we didn't know we were going to Anfield. So I just wonder. I just wonder what's going on because I don't think it's physical. It's got to be psychological.
Yeah, look, for the first half an hour, I moaned, but I don't think we were that bad the first half an hour. And I think we'd actually done a good job of getting Anfield quiet. But I don't think it was because we were doing really well. I think everyone was just bored, shitless watching it. Like neither team was showing any real quality. Neither team was showing any real intent. Liverpool had probably the better of the ball, but hadn't really done much with it. It was just not really a good game of football. And it's exactly what we were expecting from Liverpool because they're in such a lull at the moment that the fact that we couldn't get ourselves up for a game at Anfield with a Liverpool team that are struggling like they are was shocking. What followed that first 35 minutes is just the most typical Fulham fallout ever. We can see the goal in the 36th minute has basically come about because two defenders have turned their back on a ball that's gone over the top and out wide. The player marking the player out wide has basically just let him run at him and kept running it and kept running at him. Just put your foot in and make a challenge, do something. But no, you just back it off and backing off. And then, Rio took a really good shot. It was a really good finish. And I don't want to bemoan Leno too much for the finish and his inability to save it. But his positioning is poor. But it's a really good finish in the bottom corner of the goal, right? What precedes is the most typical Fulham thing that we've been moaning about for months and months. We never ever look more likely to concede a goal than just after we've just conceded a goal. Because Liverpool don't break a sweat. They don't even attempt to try play any fancy football. They just get the ball back down again, goes out to the other wing, and Mo Salah does the exact same thing, but in the opposite corner. And it comes from two defenders turning their back on a ball and the ball going in the box, and then a winger or a left back just backing off and backing off and backing off. Ultimately, Fulham are 2 goals down 40 minutes into a game of football, and Liverpool haven't had to break a sweat to get that 2-goal lead. Yes, they've scored a really good goal, and that's no shock that Liverpool scored a great goal against Fulham. But we didn't look like we were offering anything at that point. The last 5 minutes of the first half were probably a bit more positive. That, I think being 2 goals down maybe had shocked a few members of the squad to maybe wake up a little bit. And we had a little bit of a go for the final 5, 6 minutes of that first half. What proceeded to come out after half time was Liverpool knowing the game was over. And they didn't break a sweat in that second half. And as Fulham may have huffed and puffed a lot, got the ball down and had some decent bits of ball in the attacking third, just looked like we have all the ability, the killer touch, of a mouse up front. We're just so naive up front. We just don't know how to break teams down. And if I have to watch Anthony Robinson either hit the first man or the corner flag from another cross, I think I might go nuts. Like, it's ridiculous. And poor Rodrigo Muniz, who didn't have a great game, he also didn't have a single cross come anywhere near him. And it was so frustrating to see the fact that we then waited so long to, we made 2 subs at half time, like for like. We make 3 subs during the second half, like for like. It's the same story from Fulham. It ain't broke. It is broken. You don't fix it. Nothing changes. I think probably for about the 200th time of Marco Silva being Fulham manager on Saturday, we saw Fulham use all of their substitutions in a game and make no tactical changes whatsoever. And it's really frustrating to see when you are chasing a game, especially away at Anfield, that you don't have any ability at all to make any changes. Mozza, especially that second half. Let's talk about the second half, right? How frustrating is it to see Fulham have so much of the ball and just look so clueless with what they should be doing in terms of attacking thirds or, movement or anything?
See it a lot, and I'm never able to put my finger on it. We call it hot potato time. I know you had a few frustrations yourself, Ash, with Zyneberg. And there's various things that happened in that game on the weekend that are a repeat of what we've seen this season, and things that each of us have called out. With Berger, yes, he did stop a shot from Salah at one point. But we've seen him bottle it when he's had opportunities to drive forward the ball. I'm sure I've said these words before. The bloke is 6'4". Why doesn't he use his strength, his posture? He can be really intimidating. He's not been the same player that we've seen the season previously. I've seen him do that at Craven Cottage. He's had chances where he's been outside the box or on the edge of the box. He could have just put a shot on target, and he doesn't do it. He bottles it. We don't understand that's be the case whenever we get to an opposition's penalty box. I don't understand the obsession for trying to get this perfect goal or perfect football, perfect set piece, whatever. Just get a shot away, get the ball from under your feet, boys. And when it's at the other end with our defence, you said it earlier. Then again, Ash, too much respect. We pussyfoot around them. Stick your foot in. And yes, I understand. Let's not be careless. Don't give away stupid penalties if we can help. It's enough to see with arms behind their backs as it is these days. But I don't get it, and I can't understand why. Is it a lack of passion? Well, maybe this is the answer. Does it come from Silva? But I can't imagine him not being a passionate guy, or giving them the hairdryer treatment. But then again, I hate to contradict myself. There are moments where we've seen him just looking defeated on the sideline anyway. I really don't understand it. I don't know wherein the problem lies. I haven't been able to answer your question. I'm just realizing you can probably see the cogs turning in my head, but I just don't know, mate. We talked about Muniz just a second ago as well there. He didn't get the service, but then did he set himself up properly on the day enough, if at all? Little from column A, little from column B. Yeah, it's just so lackluster.
Yeah, like, ultimately the performance and the result are really disappointing, right? Again, it's not the fact we've lost to Liverpool Anfield. That's not the most disgraceful thing to happen in football. It's it's the effort being put in while it's happening. You know, we had this real big discussion a couple of weeks ago where I got absolutely lambasted online because I'd mentioned the fact that Fulham were on the beach already. And then we had a couple of results that maybe showed that that wasn't the case. You know, Sunderland away being one of those results where, you know, we'd put a bit of performance in, and it looked like maybe they realised they were only 4 points away from Europe and there was something worth fighting for. Saturday to me screamed, no one's really busting the gut. No one really cares that much. You know, we're not going to go down. Finishing mid-table, it is what it is. No one really cares because it wasn't that. It just there was no one taking the ball by the horns. There was no one attempting it. You know, we could go through the list of players, and there are some we're going to talk about in a minute that just was so underwhelming. And that's the problem for me is when you're in a squad and you're so desperate to get into Europe, like some of us are, you can't be carrying 5 players week in, week out. And there are too many passengers in our squad at the moment. And some of them are maybe enforced because of they're not the first choice player in their position. There are other players that are and just are injured, or they are just levels below where they should be or where they could be or where they have proven to be at any point playing for Fulham. You know, I think it's funny for me. You know, Harry Wilson is this player that's been lauded around by absolutely everyone as having this absolutely world-class season for Fulham. But Saturday's performance is something that we've seen loads of times with Fulham this season. He did nothing. He offered nothing. And the only difference between this game and, I don't know, let's say West Ham at home, where he was also did the exact same thing, he offered nothing. Let's say, you know, Crystal Palace at home. The only difference between this and Palace at home is that he scored at Palace at home and he scored a great goal. So everyone forgets that everything else he did in the game was just abject. The same thing on Saturday. He just looked overwhelmed by the whole day out. And it was ridiculous. Muniz was the same, you know. It just it just didn't look like he was ever in the right place. It just didn't look like the football was the right style of football for him. And part of that's because I don't believe we're using him correctly. I don't think we're using him how Muniz should be used as a striker. I don't think he's a Rail type striker, and we play like he is when he is playing. And I don't think that helps. You know, you look at both of our wing backs, left back, right back, shocking. Anthony Robertson, I don't know what happened when he was out injured, but the player that's come back is not good enough. It's just not, and the fact that he's still being touted around by people to be a £30 million player that Liverpool, Man United are interested in is beyond me because they could not have watched him play football since he's come back from this injury because he was so poor on Saturday, not just defensively, but going forward. He attempted 7 crosses in that first half on Saturday. One found the Fulham player, and the one that found the Fulham player by the corner flag because it didn't go out. Like, it says all you need to. I know he's never been known for his crossing, but it just weren't good enough. Look at Timothy Castagna, who he's not the first choice right back. We know Kenny Tete is, but Fulham have got a real issue. That our first choice right back is made out of string cheese, and our second choice right back isn't good enough. He had one good performance this season, and the rest of the time he's just not been good enough. And you could say that for so many other positions around the pitch. You know, Drew, we had a discussion during the game about, you know, Fulham's need to have to replace certain positions in the summer, becoming more and more obvious, right? And it's a point you make all the time, but it's never been more glaringly obvious, right, that we need a new left back and a new right back if we're going to have any chance of progressing next season.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this online to a couple of Fulham fans that I was interacting with. Interestingly, I didn't get a lot of pushback on it either. I mean, most people have focused quite rightly, and there's no criticism of any Fulham fans here, but most Fulham fans have focused quite rightly on our threadbare striking options this season and how close to absolute catastrophe we were with just basically running with Raul and Silva's refusal to even just give him breathing space by playing Jonah. But the fullback situation, well, a fit Anthony Robinson covers up a lot of the problems that we have. He's one of the most explosive athletes we've got in the squad. He provides the overlap when we attack, and he's got the ability to outrun mistakes when he's fully fit. Anthony Robinson is not fully fit. And Anthony Robinson, without his athletic ability, and a lot of Fulham fans say this, is not as good as Cess, who I still think is fabulous because I'm biased, but he worries me defensively as well, simply because of his natural inclination to attack and the fact that it means Calvin Bassey often ends up covering two positions. But, you know, if we're serious, and I say this and I respect Timmy Castagna because I think he's got the heart of a lion, I think a 25-year-old Kenny Tete will probably be one of the best right backs in the league. But as you've already pointed out, Kenny Tete is made of glass. Timothy Castagna is quite possibly leaving at the end of this season. Jedi, after the World Cup, is looking at his last chance of a big move. And if you take that into account, what are you left with? Ryan Sessegnon and a whole lot of question marks. I mean, you say we need two new fullbacks, Ash. Unless we're going to promote someone from the academy, and let's be honest, if Silva stays, that's unlikely to happen. We really could be in the market for three. And that doesn't even take into account anything that happens in the centre-back positions, because there's a lot of calls for Anderson to be replaced. But as I said on our international break show when we were talking about contracts, we've got a Calvin Bassey problem, you know, because say what you want about Bassey, but when he's on form, he's arguably our best centre-back, and he can cover left-back as well. If we can't get him to sign a contract extension, if the club are smart, and that's a huge if the club are smart, they'll look to offload him this summer, because next summer he'll just start to run down his contract and we'll have another £20 million asset or £40 million asset or £50 million asset walk out the club for free. So there's massive question marks. And as you've noticed, Ash, we haven't even started to talk about the midfield or the attack. Yeah, I mean you've mentioned Harry Wilson, and let's be honest, he's had a fantastic season, but you're quite right. A lot of times he does disappear out of games. He is a streaky player, but this season he's caught lightning in a bottle. Now, if he leaves, and all the cards point to it being that he's going to, we don't actually trigger Sam's buyout clause. We're left with Oscar Bob, who's not an orthodox winger, and Kevin. You know? So, okay, let's just say we move Ryan forward. So instead of needing 3 fullbacks, we might need 4. It stuns me how we get ourselves into this situation. I genuinely cannot, for a professional football club, explain to you what the strategizing is in terms of the contracts of its employees. Ash, it's beyond me. It's beyond me. And going back to the fullbacks, one thing that really, really annoyed me on Saturday night, Liverpool were playing inverted wingers. So it was obvious they wanted to come in the inside on their strongest foot. And both goals resulted in us not shutting down the inside. And then all they did was use the defenders, as markers for the far post. And you've already covered it, Ash. The second goal was a duplicate of the first, just on a different side. I mean, how did we not know that's what they were going to try and do? I mean, and this is what I'm saying. Well, I said at the top of the show, psychologically, we just seem to have checked out. And people can have a go at you for saying we're on the beach, Ash, but I defy anyone to explain to me how else we could play like we did. But I just don't know, and I don't want to keep coming back to it, but you know, a lot of FFC fans are now starting to. The Silva situation is starting to really grate. You know, and I think, and I'm not criticising the players here, they either know that he's going because he's told them, or they believe he's going. It doesn't really matter. But either of those situations essentially render him a lame duck. And they might just not be listening to him now because they're going to be there longer than he is. But yeah, I mate, you know, what was looking quite possibly a run at Europe, he's now looking at as a massive off-season of uncertainty.
I think what became very clear on Saturday after the game, especially on social media, is more and more fans are waking up to the fact that Marco Silva isn't the genius that he always gets marked out to be. Like, I love Marco Silva for the job he's done at Fulham. He's done an amazing job of stabilising us in the Premier League. But it does get to a point where things become a bit dry and a bit tepid. And I think Saturday was just another showing of, as I said, it was like the 200th time of him being a manager that he's used all these substitutions and changed absolutely nothing tactically. You know, we made 5 like-for-like substitutions again. And it's not the first time this season that we are chasing a game and we have done nothing to warrant getting back into the game. What, like, you cannot make 5 like-for-like substitutions when you are 2-0 down and expect things to magically change. Because the problem isn't the quality of player that's on the pitch that's on the bench. The problem is that you're set up incorrectly. And that's my biggest problem with Marco Silva, is that it's okay to make formation changes during a game. It's okay to change the way you're set up during a game if it's not working, because it's not always going to work. But it's a real concern, especially for Fulham under Marco, when we go a goal down. Never a more dangerous time for being a Fulham when you go a goal down, because unless we get a goal back really quickly, we could concede it really quickly. And the long, painful fight back is always really, really annoying to watch. And, you know, yes, there'll be people here arguing, saying Fulham have gone a goal down and brought back games to win a few times this season. We have done, yeah, but more than we haven't. We don't change things we play, and that's the most frustrating thing. Mozza, quickly, one last thing before we sort of close out the pod, mate. For you, is the frustration there with Marco, or is it not? Or you just checked out on the whole, you know, he's not going to be here next season, so what's the point?
Wow, yeah, great question. I think I am checked out. Like, I just feel, yeah, indifferent, really. There doesn't seem. I won't be shocked if he goes. I'll be more shocked if he stays, and I'll be more concerned if he stays. And I think every Fulham fan should be more concerned if he stays. Not necessarily saying that he is the root, like he is the core problem, but if he's just deflated and demoralized himself because of the upper echelons around him, that ain't great. Yeah, I may have checked out a while ago, and what you said about him being made out to be the genius and all that, yeah, we love to like prep these people up and all that. I hate that song that they always sing though. He's a genius. I'm like, well, if he was a true genius, he wouldn't have made as many dodgy decisions as he has, you know, in his time. No one's perfect, I get that, but anyway, you've got to get behind the boys, haven't you? But look, I think he's gone. I think it'd be silly if we thought otherwise.
Yeah, look, it's a fair point. Look, we'll run through quickly. Let's try to have some positive coming out of the game on Saturday, because I think there were a couple performances that weren't that bad. And we'll do man of the match, honourable mentions if there are any. Drew, do you have any honourable mentions and a man of the match for the game on Saturday?
Not really. I thought Cesc looked okay when he came on. Muniz tried, but he was completely isolated. He's probably not cut out for the central role. I really, do you know what, Ash? The whole thing's left me feeling indifferent. Like Mozza said, I'm just, you know, I tweeted a few days ago. I said that, you know, if the season ended today and Marco Silva announced he was leaving, I'd be kind of relieved. And that's kind of how I'm feeling. I'm feeling I'm going to, for reasons that can only be put down to the fact that I'm a secret masochist, I bought a ticket for Arsenal away. You know what? I like going to the college. I like seeing people I sit with, and I like talking to them. But it's just feeling like a chore right now. It really is feeling like a mission. And I looked at that, and I don't really want to sit there and say, there was a man of the match. I mean, I totally respect every Fulham fan, man, woman, and child that went all the way up there, because deep down, that performance that they got, they could see coming. So yeah, total respect to them. But I don't feel that there is a real man of the match there. I'll give it to Bassi just because I like him. But so be it.
Fair enough, mate. Mozza, is there anyone who stood out in any way for you to be maybe man of the match or an honourable mention?
I'm going to say Bassi as well, just because I feel like he did the job that he always does. I think he held the team together more than anyone else. Yeah, I can't just. How do I improve on what Drew said?
You probably can't, but give it a go.
No, and I never will, but I strive to. What I will say is I thought Lukic looked good when he came on for the half that he had.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
There was a bit of oomph when he came on. Not so much ESR, but whatever. I mean, we are clutching at straws, I suppose. But yeah, honourable mention will definitely go to Lukic. And Lord, I hope he starts the rest of our games this season.
Yeah, look, for me, I think it's spot on. I think the only real honourable mentions are Ryan Sessegnon and Lukic. Probably the two subs that Marco got right in the sense of just giving us a little bit more attacking intent. I feel really sorry for Sasha Lukic, who's not getting games at the moment because he's watching Sander Berg, bulk up and down the pitch and is too shit scared to have a shot. It's ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous. But Calvin Bassey,
Ash,
for me, is the
sorry,
man
mate.
of the
Can I
match.
just interrupt there? Do you think Berge is literally told to play the way he plays?
Mate, I've only ever seen Sander Berg have two shots from distance, and they were both against us, and he scored.
Yeah, this is
Right?
what I'm
In a Fulham
saying.
shirt, like in a Fulham shirt, he just refuses to shoot. There was two moments in the game on Saturday where he was at the edge of the box with the ball at his feet, gaping goal in front of him, and he passed it backwards. One of the times he broke through edge of the D, easy shot on goal, and the whole time he was looking for a pass. And you can see he was looking who was around him rather than just thinking, I could have a go here. And that's a real concern for me. Because if the play in the position and the way he plays, you should be looking to take attempts when they come up for you. Look, I hate using the comparison. Look, you have to look at the best players in the Premier League who've ever played in his position. You look at players like Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard, who often played in that position. They would be 100% looking for that shot second he's even remotely on. And he always looks like he's looking for the pass and not the shot. And it's really, really concerning.
Silva deploys him as a defensive midfielder, and I don't think he's not. I'd like to see Lukic there. I just think Lukic gives us more bite, and he's defensively aware. And as we've said before, Lukic is the one player. I appreciate he gets booked a lot, but he'll practice the dark arts because he just senses danger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With Berge, you're quite right. I've seen Berge storm through midfields, principally ours when he's been playing against us. I just cannot explain the metamorphosis. It's got to be down to his coaching. It has to be. I can't see it. Anyway,
it makes no sense that he's not willing to at least take an opportunity on. There was two on Saturday, as I say, that were ridiculous that he didn't have a shot. And I'd much rather you have a shot twice in a game that goes 5 miles wide than us work the way to the edge of the box and then it'll be back at Bernello's feet 10 seconds later because the only option you thought of having is to pass it backwards. That's a concern for me. Like, as I was saying though, for me, man of the match has to be Calvin Bassey. He played on Saturday with a non-existent left back on one side and a £35 million waste of space for a centre back partner on the other side. And ultimately, Anderson's probably at fault for both of the goals we conceded for the original crosses that came in the box, and he turned his back on them. And that's another concerning position, and another one we will talk about in the coming weeks because it is a real concern to me the amount of players that really just disappear when we are up for anything that is even remotely close to a fight. And it's not the first time we've made that comment about Anderson, and it won't be the first time we say it about others. But guys, thanks very much for joining me on this one. It's always difficult when we have to review absolute objective performances that Fulham put in every now and then, especially after international breaks. It's a big game coming up this weekend. Brentford away is a massive game, and probably the worst time we could be trying to play them at home, because they have a strike force that is on fire, and they are playing well. As much as their fans will tell you that they keep choking at home, I will be worried. The one thing I will do is I'd put my house on Brentford getting a penalty at some point this weekend, but we'll discuss that on Friday when we do the preview show for the game on Saturday morning. Yeah, thanks very much everyone for joining us. Thanks everyone for viewing this one. Sadly, we must report that AJ isn't with us tonight. Sadly, he had a family bereavement this week. His granddad Jimmy passed away. Jimmy is obviously a lifelong Fulham fan, and one of the major reasons why AJ himself is a Fulham fan. So we're going to dedicate today's show to Jimmy. At the end, AJ, our thoughts are obviously with you and the whole of the family. We are sorry for your loss, and hopefully we'll see you back soon, raring to go. But understandably, you not really want to talk about Fulham at this particular moment in time, which is understandable. We'll see you all on the next one. Hopefully, Fulham can sort of maybe pick up some respect more than anything, because the way the season's fizzling out is not very good, and it's sadly very depressing. We will be back soon. Thanks everyone for joining us. Come on, you whites.